Hello and welcome. So this is another one of my 60 inspirational conversations, and already we've been chatting a little bit and some things are bubbling and going on. So I said, let's press record and get this down. So I have the delight and pleasure today to be here with Deborah Binun. I have known you for a little while. We've interacted with some things, and we were just talking about pregnancy and birth, because that has definitely been part of your journey. And now you're talking about as like transitions. I mean, pregnancy and birth is one of the biggest transitions that a woman goes through, I think.
Huge.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about you, and let's see where this conversation goes?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Where do I start? I found myself in pregnancy and birth due to my own terrifying fear of pregnancy and birth. From since I was as young as I can remember, that really crippling fear of like how will I ever manage to give birth? This is just like it was always with me. This is a torturous thing. I can't do it. I know I really want children. I love children. It was always with me. This fear that I fed, of course, and turned it into like a snowball.
As we do.
Amazing how that works. So, and of course, when you're doing that, you're hearing all of the negative stories and you're blowing it out of all proportion. It became such a scary thing. And then I ended up doing a master's in psychotherapy, chose the thesis. I'm going to do a thesis on the fear of childbirth to try and overcome it. So it was all this in the middle of my thesis where I'm going to birth trauma workshops. I'm interviewing women who are petrified like me. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's awful, isn't it? Like I'm just all right in it. The most scared I'd ever been, definitely the most scared I'd ever been, because I was ramping it up for myself, really like, yeah, let's delve into this and see how scary it is, and find myself pregnant. So that was, of course, isn't life amazing? So
how we laughed.
yeah. But that was really my entry point. Little did I know that it was three principles at the time, but that was my entry point into life, or the life that we're in, the life that we're creating and believing is not at all true. That was my entry point into that. Because I was there in the toilet. I remember it like it was yesterday, 15 years ago, in the toilet doing my pregnancy test that I bought, not thinking for a second that I could be pregnant. I was just doing a pregnancy test because I missed a few periods. I thought, well, I suppose I better do one. But like, of course I'm not. And I'm just like, you're waiting for it to come. But never in a million years did I think it. And then I just sort of glanced at it and I was like, huh? But there's two lines. And I'm like, what? It was just, and it was such a shock. And I think I feel like the sheer shock of it stopped my brain from, stopped my like tight intellect story brain from it just dropped for a second. It just dropped for a second. That's how I see it now, as what happened. My story of pregnancy is torturous and unbearable, and I could never do it in a million years. Just kind of, that's how I see it now. I just fell into a completely new reality of what whooshed in when my brain stopped, when my intellect stopped for that second, was like, I can't even explain it. That amazing feeling of like, of trust, of faith, of love, of reassurance. Like, I don't know how else to explain, like a wave of reassurance, of like, just like someone wrapping me in reassurance. And the words were like, everything is absolutely fine. You're going to give birth normally and naturally. There's nothing to fear. It's absolutely fine. And then it was gone. And then it was gone. Like, it was an instant. And then came like the panic. What are they going to do? It was just, but it was like, it was too late. I'd seen something. It was like I was onto myself. And so I kept on, and I didn't have the three principles then to really understand it. But I was like, something had happened, something had changed me, something had made me see it isn't what you think, like it's not as true as you think. And then even though I had then did fall back into the panic and that, oh gosh, like how am I going to get through this 9 months? I've got to get over my fear in 9 months. And I dropped the thesis and I went learning all sorts of different things, hypnobirthing. And, you know, I was like, this is going to be my thesis now, get over my fear. It was just like, it took the whole edge off the fear for me. It was just like, I knew at the back of my mind, it was almost like I was tricking myself when I did fall into the fear. It was like I was tricking myself. It was like, well, I know there was something in the background that just knew it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So it could never sort of it could never grip me. So that was my introduction into, you know, like how we trick ourselves that we live in our stories, that aren't true. And then I'm trying to think when I actually did come across the principles. No, it wasn't even. And then came the birth. Then came the unbelievable moment of the birth, which I had feared my entire life. Was so scared and had replayed and thought about for my whole childhood and postponed it when I got married, postponed it for many, many years. Everyone thought we couldn't have children. And then again, I would say at the birth, I was gifted with my intellect disappearing again. It's such a gift. The intellect goes. It's just like the best. And then I just had this most enlightening, incredible experience of a quiet mind for the first time, probably ever, in my birth. And I just saw the miracle of life is just going. Everything is perfect. Everything is being looked after. Everything is just going. And like, there was no running commentary all of a sudden to ruin it all. There's no running commentary. So I was just in this pure, absolute bliss. Just, I don't know. The chatter went away. It was the first time. That was it. That was the first time that I'd had a quiet mind. And then I became addicted to birth after that. I was like, oh my goodness, look what hypnobirthing did. I thought it was hypnobirthing that had done that. So I was in a complete kind of misunderstanding jumble. But that's what drew me to birth. Long story short, that is what pulled me into birth. Like I couldn't not work in pregnancy and birth after that. I was just like, this is so awesome and incredible and holy. Like, I literally became addicted to giving birth, first of all, myself. I just wanted to keep giving birth. A bit of a problem. and like I just wanted to tell women, like, you don't understand, it's not what we think, like it's amazing. And so that was it. That was my sort of entry point into birth. And then kind of afterwards coming across the 3 principles and being like, right, like now I understand what happened, you know.
An explanation for what happened.
Yeah. And I would say still to this day, I can't get a quiet mind like that without giving birth. Isn't that hilarious? You see my misunderstanding still?
Yeah.
So,
and I guess that's the kind of the areas where we see, for whatever reason, the areas where we are gifted seeing. And I think everyone has areas where they are gifted in seeing something, and those areas in our life just look like they're easy, and you know, it's just like, oh yeah, this is easy, and we're gifted in seeing. And then there's other areas in our lives where we have blind spots, we're not. And then for me, I guess the exploration has been, it has to be the same here. Like when you're saying, you know, the only time I can get that peace of mind is in childbirth, that can't be true. As in, you know, that's got to be available to everybody 24/7. It's available. And then it's like, so the kind of the game, if you like, or whatever it is, the exploration is, how do we get as close to that? And it's kind of, it's not, you know, it's not a doing in that sense, it's beyond the mind, but it is like, yeah, okay, so what's going on that can happen, and how can we create that in one sense, in more areas, in more places. So yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is so magical, but it's kind of like you can't, like you say, you can't engineer it to apply to other areas.
No, it's
You
not
know, like,
yeah, it's definitely not an engineering in that sense, but it is,
no, what can I see?
yeah. To me, it has it has got to be available. Like there is
Yes,
no part of me that doubts it.
absolutely.
And from my own experience, having the more that I am open and the more that I know that it has to be available,
Right,
the more it becomes available, the more it becomes
right.
available in more places, the more
Yeah,
I see, like you said, when you said you were onto yourself, it's like, yeah, you start
yes,
to see, this is me thinking this, isn't it? There is a thinker here, there is some thinking.
yes,
I do not have to listen to that thinking. I don't have to think that. I don't have to agree with that. I don't have to give my energy to that thought.
yeah, yeah,
And the more we see that, the more of, even if it isn't the absolute peace of mind that you experience, the more peace of mind we experience, the more we realize that. And it is a realization, like you say, it's not, it is a funny one because it's not a doing as such, and yet it kind of is. It's one of the,
yeah.
it's slippy, the language around it, and it is a little bit tricky, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, ever since I've then been on the three principle journeys, you know, for 15 years. And it has kind of been a little bit of a quest. Like, I know that it's everything is like, I know that you know, even when I say I link it to birth, in birth, I'm so in my body. I'm so in my body and in the present that I can't be, so my intellect just doesn't have a chance, it's just not there anymore. Um, but it is, yeah, so it's amazing that when you get stuck, it still astounds me every time how real it seems. You know, we know it so well. We're like, it's just, yeah, it's a whole fascinating thing that I do think. It's funny because I was speaking to my son in the car, just coming to speaking now. I was with my son, and I was just talking about that I'm coming to talk to you, and I said, you know, it's nice to have something fresh, you know, because when you have something fresh, like a fresh insight or a new thing that you've seen, that's what carries the aliveness of me. That's where the aliveness is. So that's why it's always, when you go to these conferences, people, it's like, what's fresh for you? And they talk about what's fresh, and it's just like you can feel the aliveness in it, because it's like it's just comes to them. So I was saying to him, like, you know, like I feel like, because he said, oh, well, you know what you're talking about. It doesn't matter. You know what you've done this loads of times before. You know what you're talking about. I was like, yeah, but the magic is in the freshness. Like, you need something fresh. And he's like, oh, no, just steer it onto something you know. You know, that's what I do, you know, in interviews, steer it onto something you know about. And I was like, no, like, it's the opposite, isn't it? Like, who
Breaking new ground. Yeah,
you
break new
want to
ground.
steer it onto something you know, like, and just go around in that. And then so and then he was like, and then we end up in traffic, right? Then we end up in traffic, but the most ridiculous traffic that I thought I was going to be late for this, right? And then I've got this the sat nav, and it's taking me. So I put the sat nav on. I'm like, I've got to put the sat nav on, even though I'm quite near home, because it just seems like, I don't know, so much traffic. Every time it got to where we were going, it redirected me. It did it about 3 times. That's never really happened to me before. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? And then I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm kind of talking to my son at the same time, saying, look, I was like, look what's happening here. It's just about trust. Like, it's just about trust. Like, I am hating this traffic. I'm in this traffic. I'm hating this traffic. And I don't want it. But like, you just have to trust that you're being guided, that the sat nav is guiding you in the right direction, even though it changes course right at the last minute, and then the time goes up and this and that. It's just, I mean, it's just all about trust, isn't it? The more and more I go into this, it's like, that's it. Life knows what it's doing. Life is taking us on a journey. Life is teaching us the whole time with every single thing that happens, even if we really dislike it,
Yeah.
even if we really dislike what's happening. I don't know. And I just thought, and the wonder of that, I was like, there we are. there's the freshness. It came. I'm talking about, I want something fresh, and there it is in front of me, traffic in front of me, and then this whole thing about trust. I'm like, it's just amazing. It really is like, ask and it is. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, the ask and it is given. And it is, I see in the asking, it is what we want is given, but it is given, like, for example, I'm building a house at the moment, and definitely I know that there are things going on that are really stretching me at the moment with this. And it's like, well, that's fascinating. And it was like, no, I just asked for a beautiful house. And it's like, yeah, but to have that, who I was couldn't have had that. It's like you can really see when we get the growing that I need to do to get to that space, to do this in the way, like, I have asked for a beautiful home, to build a beautiful home without stress, without worrying about it, without worrying about the money side of it, without worrying about anything. All of the whole, everybody says, well, if you build your house, it's a strain on your relationship, it's a strain on your finances, it's a strain on this, a strain on that. That's like, okay, that's not how I want it to be. So I'm asking for something different. And then seeing, right, okay, if you want this to work in that way, then there's some growing for you to do. And I can really see exactly the freshness and the newness is, I'm being shown things and I'm growing in ways that it wouldn't have happened in any other way. It's like, yeah, this is the growth that you need. This is the step that you need.
That is unbelievable, because we're also building a house, by the way.
Oh,
It's ruining my life. Often I'm just like, I've just got to listen to Deborah more. Like, she's loving it. She really likes it. She's loving it. There's got to be a different experience. I always think about you. I love what you say about that because you got the desire to do it. That's why you went for it. So the strong desire came, but then you're still saying that it's life is teaching you through this,
absolutely,
building of the home that couldn't have taught you. That's so magical. So it's not that it's all fun and roses and this is so, it's not that it's that, but it's like you're just enjoying the growth.
The growth, really enjoying the growth of it. Yeah, I'm really kind of seeing, oh, okay, so this has now come up. And the trust, the bit that you were talking about there, right. The trust. So I could get into the choice when something, I had no idea I still have no idea what I'm getting myself in. We are very near the beginning of this. So this started when I wanted to buy a piece of land, and that just looked like the most ridiculous thing in the universe. And it's like, no, I want to buy this land and I want to build this house. So we've got as far, like, the land belongs to us now, and we want to move on and live on the land. And the things that we need to do, like, we haven't got water and electric and those kinds of things, so we've got to get those, and they're coming up as quite expensive to connect those things, to have those things on the land. And it's like, okay, so you can get really stressed about that and look at it that, oh, this isn't working, this isn't going the way, or you can trust, exactly like you said, like, definitely this is something, the desire to do this was there. And what I know is, when we have a true desire, the perfect way for us to have it also exists at the same time as the desire. And then what we do as we're along for the ride, a little bit like when you were talking about the childbirth, you wanted children, you loved children, you wanted them. So the perfect way for you to have children absolutely totally existed. And then you can fight and kick and scream and have a terrible time of it, or you can trust and lean into it. And so to me, this is, okay, so this is going to work. And you can kick and scream and be afraid and worry about it, or you can lean into it and allow it to work more quickly than you can imagine, and in ways that you can't imagine. And I've already seen that playing out. So definitely at this moment, there is a few things going on that I'm like, I have no idea how that is going to work out. And it's like, well, that's not my business, that's God's business. My business here is to trust and to lean in and to stay with what it is I'm creating. And then I'm like, the more I get into that frame of mind, the more that I see the opportunities arising, you know, people showing up, things happening. And when I am stuck in fear, those things, either they're not happening, or I don't see them, or when they happen, I've got a million reasons why not to do them because I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah, it just, life is giving us opportunities to grow. That's
Yeah.
just what's happening, and to deepen our understanding of, like, every time, because it's like you've ramped up in the kind of number of problems and worries you could have. You've ramped it up. Like if you were sitting in a lovely home with your water and everything, you wouldn't necessarily, do you know what I mean? So
I had no idea. Yeah, exactly. You know,
you had to take on something this big, I think, for you, because like you're so grounded in your understanding. It had to be something that's really going to be catastrophic. There's going to be no to kind of expand you more, isn't it? That's what it seems.
It does feel, I knew when I did it that was what I was doing, if you like. I knew that's what I was asking for. It was like, right, okay, yeah, I can see this here, I can see this, and it's like, would I see it in this? Would I? And there definitely has been a few things that have happened, and it's like the opportunity to get panicked and not to see it, and for a short amount of time, it's like, oh my God, and then it's like, right, okay, what do you know to be true? You can come back to this. Come back to this continually. And in one sense, I've sort of seen that's what this is. It's a lifestyle, a way of living. It's not something, it's like eating or something like that. It's not something you do once and it's done. To me, like this expansion and living from a deeper understanding of who we are, there is always something fresh. There is, you know, consciousness is infinite. It's like where we can go with this is infinite. And it's like, so there will always be something fresh. If we want that, there will always be something. And so
there's a saying in Judaism that says, like, you better hope that, I mean, it's a bit, you better hope that you have challenges, because if you're not having the challenges, it means like God's ignoring you, and then you're not having the growth.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to look at it that we have to have challenges. I hate to look at it like that. But more and more, I don't know. I don't want that to be my belief. But it seems to have sneaked in there that if there are challenges, it seems to, would you agree? That it seems to facilitate, that there's definitely something good for us, and like childbirth.
Yeah.
You know, the whatever, the pain of it, whatever we want, and it births something so magnificent. I don't know.
And you can see, like you see, the amount, like childbirth is childbirth. And then how, you know, what you make of it, what you create from that.
Yes.
Like, it is so magnificent. You know, childbirth is just literally how that all happens. You know, there is so much about it that we don't know. I know when my daughter, I've got two daughters, so it's my second daughter had children first. So when she had her children, when she had her first one, I remember for all sorts of reasons ending up in a class with her where they were talking about breastfeeding, and they were just talking about breast milk. And from the time since I had had my children to what we know about breast milk now, you know, and what she was talking about, the properties of breast milk, and just and honestly, I already knew that it was amazing, but she's kind of going, you know, your child, the way that the communication between you, you know, your child gets near your breast and the milk knows whether to be more creamy or, you know, have more fat in it, have more, you know, whether the child needs, if the child's slightly ill, it will be detected that the temperature is slightly higher, so something will be given in the milk to and literally she did this thing, and she had this piece of paper, and she sort of said, this is the properties of breast milk that we know about. And it was like this, and it's like,
your mind.
oh my gosh. And how again, it's alive, and it responds to the moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. And that's just breast milk. And then, yeah, so that completely blew my mind. Well, that is the world that we live in. And then, I have total and utter respect for what human beings, what we can create and what we can do. And, for whatever reason, if a child can't have breast milk, I am very, very glad that there is formula and things like that. But when you look at my daughter, who's very recently given birth, she was a little bit poorly after the birth, so they gave her some formula milk in case she wanted to feed her baby formula milk. And I'm sure that it is, full of all sorts of amazing things. But I picked this up, and the date that it lasts till something like next year, this little bottle. And I'm kind of like, wow, breast milk is alive and adapting to this moment. This bottle that I've got in my hand, it'll kind of do for the next year. And it's not and it's not, I'm not, as I said, I'm totally grateful that people have created this milk, that if it's needed or for whatever reason, and it's not about a judgment of that, but it is just seeing that's life. Life has that adaptation in the moment to this, and we tend to live on this this thing that lasts me for 10 years. It's just, I don't need to check. It's like,
that's our thought. That's our thoughts going round and round and round. It reminds me of what Amy Johnson said, something I read of hers. Thought is dead. So powerful. Thought is dead.
It's
like, wow. I was like, that hit me between the eyes. I was like, oh my God, thought is dead unless we sort of it's our focus to it that brings it to life. And then it's
we are that. We are that adaptive. We are that responsive and adaptive. And it is, and we get to choose where we put that life. Do we concentrate on something that is dead, in that kind of way? Do we do that? Or do we bring this aliveness to it? And it's just like, wow. And I guess that's in those moments, like when I am looking at dead thought and I am afraid or whatever, that's when it doesn't feel nice. We are always divinely guided. And it's like, when I look towards possibility, when I look in a different direction, when I use that life-giving consciousness to bring something beautiful to life, we live in possibility, and then we create limitation.
And it's so habitual, isn't it? That it's so boring and habitual. We know it so well. We know our own sort of rat wheel. We know it so well, and we're so used to it. You just get pulled into it. But like, I was just recently at the Three Principles conference, which I feel like I haven't been sort of listened to it for a while. You kind of think, and I don't know if you've ever heard Derek speak. He's one of the prisoners who, oh my goodness, like he just blows my mind every time. He was just talking about, I mean, they all really don't really prepare their talks, but he's like, I have no idea what I'm going to say. And he's standing on the stage. He says, like, no idea what I'm going to say. And then he's like, I just know that once I found the feeling, when I found that feeling, then I'm just going to talk. And so he did for an hour, the most mind-blowing talk. It's just like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm getting so much more in awe and so much more curious about, like, what is this feeling? Like, what is it? Like, this is like exactly what you're talking about, this aliveness, this possibility. Like, it's, I don't know, there's so much to be curious about. Like, what the hell is this thing? It's the thing that births babies, and that you just, that's all he's really interested in. Just and it's something, what's so kind of remarkable about, like, especially when the prisoners speak, is they've never felt that feeling in their life. Like, if you've had a more of an okay upbringing, I think you understand, like, you kind of have ups and downs, and you kind of, feel like you've got some kind of reference point to a good mood, bad mood. But like when they're speaking, when they've gone into, had these awful backgrounds and they've gone into prison and they've heard the three principles, they find this feeling that they're like, what? Like they've never felt like that in their lives. Like, what's this? It's like finding a diamond, like a gem, like magic. And then it's like, of course, you don't want to leave that, because you don't, it's something that you didn't even know existed. And there's something so, I don't know, there's something so magical about hearing those prisoners speak. It's, I don't know, it's like on a different level. Do you know what I mean? Maybe because the contrast is so, from what they felt to, and just, it's almost like it keeps coming up. And I saw it again on an email this morning, having a real respect, really valuing that feeling enough.
Yes.
Like, how much do you value that feeling?
Yeah.
Respect that feeling, acknowledge that feeling. Like, we all want that feeling, of course, but we'll let things take it away. Like, we'll just allow things to take that away. Like, why would having no coffee in the cupboard allow me to take that feeling away? That magical, most best feeling of my life. Oh, there's no coffee. Oh God, how am I going to get? Like, it just makes it. Do you know what I mean? Like, why would we ever rob ourselves of that?
Yeah.
Just really, I don't know.
It's that question, isn't it? What is worth giving up your peace of mind for?
Right. Nothing.
No, nothing.
Absolutely nothing. But why do we do it? We don't do it on purpose.
No, we absolutely, it is innocent, isn't it? But we are fearful. And interestingly, it's hilarious because we are fearful of losing that feeling.
Yes.
And then we lose it because we buy into the fear. And yeah,
right.
when we start to see, yeah, absolutely, there isn't anything that actually can take, it's always, again, it comes back to, it is always present. It is what is present. That you felt in childbirth, that's what is.
Yes.
And then we think.
I mean, I say it only happened in childbirth. It came back during the Three Principles conference. I'm like,
yeah.
It's amazing even to be part of that and to watch everyone literally in the sea of love. Everyone floated out of it. I mean, I say everyone, that was my perception. Maybe there were some people who were like, what the hell's going on? What is this? But it just seemed like, they actually said at one point, can we just like stop all the hugging? Like, everyone was just in love with each other. You can't help it. Everyone's hugging everyone. It's just, you're just in love. You're just in love with life, in love with everyone. There's no questions.
No.
There's no questions anymore. It's just like, everything's perfect. Everything's amazing. This is just incredible. Yeah. And I actually, what you speak to is something Marina Galland spoke about at the conference. I loved her talk. It was about she spoke about how she'd had a challenging time recently, and loads of things had happened, one after the other, like really crazy things.
She's been on both her and Derek. I've done 6
conversations
with them. So if anyone's listening to this, go find Derek Mason and Marina Galland. And
you have to.
Yeah,
they're my two favorites.
Yeah, she spoke about some of the things that had happened. So
right. But her talk was on that she did an experiment because life was just getting so crazy. She decided to do an experiment on if I have a radical commitment to my inner peace.
Yes.
She's already spoke about it. Like, what?
No, I've heard. I've heard.
Possible. Yeah. And it's like, it's such an interesting thing because you can be in the principles for so long and you kind of like, it just suddenly seemed like a really different take on it somehow. I was like, oh, it's so interesting. And after the conference, I was, things would come up and then I'd be like, no, radical commitment to my inner well-being. And literally, even visually, I saw kind of the chipping away, the dissolving of like almost like a mountain had been built of just like whatever it was that I was holding on to that was taking my peace of mind away. And then kind of like, no, radical commitment. I'm committed to this. Like, we want the inner peace. Like, remember that. And this thing was just dissolved. I just saw it in my mind. It just dissolved, like all this black dissolving, 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 and there it was. I'm back again. Like, it's as simple as that. It's just
yeah, it really is. And I think a commitment is a great thing. For me personally, I know that really, really works. The whole, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm committed to doing this. It's
right.
we keep, like, one of the things you said was ask, and we are ask and it is given, and it is a commitment is a way of asking. So I am committed to my inner peace. And to me, what I notice happens is when that is a commitment that I have been made, it arises when I am moving away from my peace. It's like I'm reminded, oh, remember that commitment? It's like something happens in me. Oh, this isn't, and that to me is all of this that's going around at the moment, about this whole being movement. It is almost like, yeah, who am I committed to being? I am committed to being love. And then when we're showing up and we're not being love, it's almost like something in the back of our mind goes, didn't you commit to being love? And did you hear what you just said? Fine by me either way, but do you want to keep your commitment? And it's sort of, it's like it creates an inner guide for us when we truly commit. Like, we can, half-heartedly, I don't know, we can be, there was a distinction about being interested or committed. It's like we can say we're committed, and then it's like, well, yeah, but I'm not prepared to do what it takes, if you like. And I know, like, in the Bible, one of the things that God says is be a doer of the word. And to me, this is like, when we make that commitment, like you're talking about what Marina was sharing, like, I am going to radically commit to my inner peace. So there is doing in that. You've said this is your word, be a doer of that word. And this is when this arises in you, when it's like, oh my God, there's no coffee left. Yeah, do you remember that inner peace thing? Yeah, can I be at peace with this coffee? And with the simplest and across the board, all of it. But it feels like what happens, I notice within me, when I genuinely make that commitment, that is what it arises in me. I am reminded, you have committed to this. Do you want? And then being a doer is staying, because I can be, yeah, but this is coffee. You don't get it. This is coffee and I've got no coffee. So am I a doer of my word? Am I going to, oh yeah, I know this is coffee, and oh my God, yeah, it's coffee, but can I be committed to my peace of mind? Can I be okay with this? So we sort of get that. It feels like it produces crossroads within me, and I get the choice and the invitation. The be a doer of the word is do it. Yeah, it's here, and I'm going to remind you, I'm going to show you, but you've got to do it. And that to me is what that means.
It's amazing how kind of like we want to commit. When you talk about sort of committing to religion or things like, you don't necessarily commit to doing your exam, whatever, your exam revision. There's something so kind of, but this was your word. This is your word, and you've committed to it. I don't know why that we all kind of, it's a commitment to ourselves, I suppose, which ultimately is, there's nothing more important. There's nothing more important, is there? And we know that it's for our happiness and for our good. Like, why wouldn't we? There's something so, I don't know.
I guess again, in that loop, when you look, like you talked throughout, it's been the theme, that beautiful feeling. We get that beautiful feeling, and it's like, I want this beautiful feeling. And then it is, again, do you want it more than whatever this other thing that you're doing?
Right.
And for me, what I see, again, when we look at that beautiful feeling, it's not simply a beautiful feeling. It is a beautiful feeling, but it is connection to ourselves. It is creation. It is, how can you, it is a feeling when you, I've recently had a new grandson, and holding him and looking at him and saying, oh, how can you, it is a feeling, but it is so much more. It's everything. And it's like, okay, really become aware, what is it you are committing to? Like a radical commitment to peace of mind is a radical commitment to that you're experiencing with that child in that moment. It is a radical experience to that moment for you in the bathroom when everything dropped away. It's a radical commitment to that. And you know, what are you prepared to give that up for? And it is, your commitment is, I'm not, it doesn't matter what it is. It does not matter what it is. I'm not prepared to give it up. And basically, you know, when you talked about the prisoners, I can't imagine that they had got to an age where they're old enough to be in a prison and committed that, you know, whatever, that they haven't felt that at some point.
That's true. That's true.
But it will have been something that they don't believe it can be theirs. It'll be an anomaly. It'll be something, you know, their thinking will just so override it. That will just be like, just this isn't possible. Like, I can't feel like this. And I guess coming across that in the prison and being spoken about, it's kind of like, no, this is available to you all the time. And if someone hears that, it's almost like they have been starved of it for so long. It's literally like, oh my gosh, you know, the commitment to that. So you can see we're gifted in all ways. It's absolutely, you know, if you have had years and years and years of being deprived of that feeling and then you feel it, what a gift, because how sharp and beautiful it is. Like, you know, you lived in that fear of childbirth, then you had that moment. What a beautiful gift to show that. So however it comes to us, you know, we are all magical and special and ordinary and normal. All of us are all of it.
But I also just love how life keeps, you know, it doesn't stop. It keeps growing us. And like, if I now look back at learning the principles, and I was so taken by it, and I'd studied traditional psychotherapy, and when I came across the principles, I was like, none of this makes sense anymore. I couldn't do that anymore. And then I was, whatever, being a three principles therapist, blah blah blah. Now when I look back at it, I was very emotionally detached, hilariously, an emotionally detached therapist. Just because my you know, they're Holocaust trauma survivors. They were very emotionally detached for generations, from my grandmas, and then my mum very emotionally detached, and then me. It's kind of like I wasn't used to feeling. I didn't feel really. I mean, now it's only when I look back, it's amazing what you're blind to. You know, I felt the empathy and all of that, and loved people and felt empathy and understanding for people. But as far as like feeling, like I would never, you know, all my friends would be crying in films, and I'd just be like, I literally didn't feel the feeling. I didn't. I'd almost think that was a good thing, or that means I'm emotionally healthy. Look, they're blubbering away at this film, and I'm like, I'm not upset, you know. And I just, it wasn't in my sort of reference to feel in a way. I didn't realize it. So I got to quite an old age, really, in my 20s, where I just didn't cry. I don't think I'd hardly ever cried up until my teenage, whatever, 25, which is weird. And there I am as a therapist, hilarious. And then coming across the principles, I feel like it's only now when I look back, I kind of used it as an excuse not to feel. I was like, oh, brilliant. This fits perfectly. You don't need to feel because it's only thinking. Thinking doesn't matter. So brilliant. Just carry on as you are then. No, la, la, la. No need to feel, no need to really be, you know, of course you're missing out on life if you're not, you know, really being touched and feeling both the love side and the, you know, the good and the bad, sadness and the love. And life has taught me, oh my goodness, like has life cracked me open, like over the years, more recently, in the last, whatever, 10 years, 10 years of like, life has just, it's almost like and you know, there's all these therapies for trauma release and la la la. And I remember once having a conversation with Dominic and him saying, you know, like life knows what it's doing. You don't need to do any of that. And I was kind of like, what do you mean you don't need to do any of that? There's all this whatever trauma release and breath work and this and that. And I see now, looking back at the last few years, like it's just been happening. Life is cracking me open, opening me up to emotions I never knew I even had. Like all the literally the lid has blown off. I'm like, I cry at everything now. You know, I've walked into a park and I see flowers and I'm like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And it's just like, just to look at the journey, it's just like, it's so amazing what life puts us through for a reason, always, always for our expansion. However, like you say, kicking and screaming, things that happen to us is, you know, can be utterly disastrous. It's not what we want. It can be totally disastrous. But it's just like, it's tough love. Tough love. That's how I see it. It's just like, because were it not for these things that have happened, it's like I'd still probably be just sort of la 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 la, yeah, I'm happy, I'm fine, and thinking I was fine, teaching the principles, and but just like the depth now that life has sort of pushed me to, it's just amazing. I just like there's no stop to learning. I think George Pratsky said you can't help but not learn. Life will just keep you can't not change, you can't not learn. It's impossible. Just by virtue of being alive, you're just gonna, you know, it's just magical.
And how many times do you hear people say, you know, they're like you say, those tough things that we go through are actually some of our biggest and most beautiful gifts. Like I know, you know, like you talk about the prisoners. I know when you talk about people who've maybe been very, very ill or been in prison and done those kinds of things, and afterwards they will say, yeah, I it wouldn't have been necessarily what I would have chosen, and you know, I don't want to go back necessarily and do it again, but actually the person I am now, I couldn't be this person without that has what has brought me here. And so in one sense it is, even as you are living through it, the ability to trust is and like when you're talking about the emotions and feeling things, like there's nothing we can feel all of it, and our feelings are our guide, aren't they? You know, it's like it's almost like you turned off your inner guidance system when we talk about feeling. It's like it's absolutely not about feeling, but it is understanding all feelings have information for us, and it's kind of it's getting that information. And if we're not prepared, if we don't allow ourselves to feel them, then we don't get that information, do we?
We've lost the guidance. We've
lost our guidance.
And it's just, I don't know, I'm just becoming more and more interested in like respect for our own journeys, because I used to look at people in the Three Principles world. Like I'm literally sitting next to them in the same lecture and they're like, oh my gosh, and their life has changed. I'm like, what? What did you hear? You know, like people are like not dissimilar to you, like just the bolt of lightning, everything's different. I see it similar to what happened in my birth, really, how I saw it. But I'm like, I was always like, you know, I don't want to understand. I want to get that. I want to, and comparing, and how come they understand and I want that, and all of that. And I was reminded of something which you're like, because it's about the 10 Commandments. One of the 10 Commandments is don't be jealous, don't covet your neighbor's, whatever, don't be jealous. So the question comes up, like, how can that be one of the 10 Commandments? Like, don't kill, don't steal, just all the awful things, and then don't be jealous. Like, what's the big deal? Why are we saying that? Why is that one of the 10 Commandments, the most important thing? And the reason is because if you're jealous of somebody else, somebody else's path, somebody else's journey, you've missed the entire point of your existence and why you're here. I just love that. Like, you've missed it. If I'm busy comparing myself to you, how come she's enjoying building a house? I hate this. You know, how come she got that realization? Why don't I understand? Why can't I get it like the click of a finger? Why do I have to still be suffering and all of this? You've missed the entire sort of point. Like, we're all on our precious journeys, and life is teaching every one of us tailor-made, like the breast milk. Tailor-made. Every single thing. Like, you know, I'm teaching people to have these magical births, but of course not everyone has a magical birth, you know, disastrous things happen, but that's part of their journey. It would be ridiculous to say, oh yes, but do this and you'll have a really nice birth. It's not. It's you know, everyone's on their own life journey, their own life path, their own things that are going to happen to chisel us basically into the best that we can be, right? That is the ultimate of what is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And definitely that whole, you know, don't the when you look at the the things, the wisdom in the Bible, like, I'm not religious, but
Yeah.
the Bible, the wisdom that is in there, and like you say, you know, don't be jealous. And it is coming back. Okay, a note for me is, again, noticing when I am jealous, I haven't got peace of mind. You know, when I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know, I was passed over, that person got that, or whatever, you know, whatever it is, when we're jealous, like you say, of anything, whatever it is, I'm out of my own peace of mind.
Yes.
And where is the you know, where is the easiest place? Where do we access this? It's in peace of mind. You know, as I said, you know, what is peace of mind? It's like, it's the quantum soup of possibility. And so we move ourselves out of that by being jealous about what someone else has got. And it's like, no, don't stay there. Look at what you have got. Look at what, and learn, you know, come back and learn your lessons, because, you know, we are all aspects of the divine, but we are all, you know, there is a oneness here, and then there is our individuality, and both are equally beautiful, and both are equal parts of this. So it's having an absolute respect for how the divine comes through you. And when we're jealous, when we are looking at other people, when we are trying to be like someone else, we talked, you said you started this group about unashamedly, or whatever it is, unapologetically being you. And my business, you know, is called Dare to Be You. Why did I call it Dare to Be You? Because, and it's still a journey I'm on, very, very much. You know, my thing was, from a very young age, I thought that I wasn't good enough. So you've got to be someone else. So then I started out on this whole journey of, how can I be someone else? And trying to, you know, anything that is Deb, anything that's like, no, reject that. What does this other person think? What do they, how do I want to be? And seeing, actually, you know, I am here to be Deb. That's what I'm here to do. And if I push that away, I have removed myself from the quantum soup of possibility. I've just now forced myself to fit into something that just isn't me, isn't who I am, isn't what I am supposed to be expressing. And so all of this, it's not about creating followers in the sense of following, you know, I don't want any Deb clones. The following, if there is any following, it is that following of the uniqueness of you, realizing, absolutely, if we look in this direction, there is a uniqueness to each and every one of us, like exactly like this breast milk. You know, the breast milk we will drink at any given moment will be purely for us in that particular moment. You know, what we do, how we live, everything, that's how life is. That's what it is. And so it's continually coming to, I'm not having this stale nonsense from yesterday. And the freshness that you talked about, that's you know, that's alive. And life is alive, and it's only alive in this moment.
It is almost like a commitment to being unapologetically you. I mean, as well. I just think we are so conditioned, aren't we? Like crazy. We just, it's our survival instincts to belong and to like, but that you can completely not know who you are so easily, so easily. There's so many layers of literally the system grows us up like that. You've got to kind of toe the line, otherwise you're cast out almost. It's just like, and it's, I don't know, there doesn't seem to be much. Well, I'm thinking more of the school systems, I suppose, when I'm watching my kids go to school. It is very much, there's not much respect for the individual and individuality and, you know, individual expression. It seems like I just feel, I suppose because I'm coming like to my next transition, I just feel like I just felt like, hold on a minute, like this is, we all have to be it's almost like we're depriving the world of, if we're not being unapologetically us, we're depriving the world of some aspect of what was supposed to, I don't know, what was supposed to come through, like in our unique expression. I often think of it as flowers, because flowers are all so beautiful, you know, and when you walk through a forest, and even like the really strange looking ones are beautiful, you know,
Yeah,
are just
yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
They're perfect, and they can be completely crumpled and weird and whatever, and everything is just so beautifully perfect, and thin frail ones and big ones and colors, and it's just like, be that flower, be that flower, you know. It's
And even when you see that, you can see that some people like sunflowers and not others. So again,
yes,
it's this whole, yeah,
yes,
unapologetically dare to be who you are, have the
yes,
confidence to be who you are. Because I know from lived experience, when we are trying to be someone else, then the people that like us don't actually like us. They like who we are pretending to be.
right,
So there isn't, you know, the real connection isn't there. And yet,
yes,
when we actually stand up and we say, yeah, this is who I am, the people who truly connect with us show up. And then it's like,
yes,
it's really, really beautiful to hang out with people who
yes,
really connect with you,
yeah,
rather
yeah,
than hang out going, oh yeah, I've got to be like this the whole time, haven't I? Because if they really see who I am, and it's like, yeah,
right, yeah, who wants it?
yeah,
But really, from working with mothers, I just see a lot of mothers after they've had children just kind of saying things like, you know, I used to love dancing, I used to love singing, and I just don't do it anymore. And I just think, I don't know, I think this unapologetically you also is this just like this call back to, it's like, what do you love? What do you
yeah,
really, really love? And like, why not? We all kind of remember something from our childhood. It's usually some creative thing, isn't it? Like writing or only writing. I only came back to writing probably 15 years ago. I used to love writing when I was young, completely forgot about it. I haven't written a thing. And suddenly it's these, I don't know, like what do we love, and what are we specifically really brilliant at as well? It seems to be like a shame that it's not expressing in a way for a lot of people, including myself. Yeah,
mm,
yeah. And I do remember, I always remember Aaron Turner right at the beginning of my Three Principles journey. He's, when I didn't understand it at all, and he said, you know what this is all about when I do one-to-ones, what the main question is to clients, it's what do you really want? And I'm thinking, huh? What's that got to do with it? I'm like, wasn't it mind, thought, and conscious? I didn't understand what he meant. And like only now I'm just kind of over the years like understanding, like just it's desire. Desire seems to be that alive,
desire.
that's the aliveness.
Yeah,
That's the
we have desires, and I think for the longest time human beings, and certainly, you know, living in the West and things like this, and through religion, desires were really kind of no, 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 you
right.
can't desire
Yes.
things, you can't want things. And definitely it's like that, like you say, with school systems and things, it's like, yeah, don't want what you want, just go through the motions of what you should have,
Right.
this sort of thing. And coming back to, I know when we are asked the question, what is it you actually want? There are so many people that literally have zero idea,
Yeah.
because we haven't even considered that.
Yeah.
And
We
I
never
know,
thought
like,
about it.
women, certainly women, and you know, the way
Yeah.
when we give birth and we have a baby and we give ourselves over to this child, and there is something, you know, absolutely magnificently beautiful about raising children. But it
Yes.
is also, I think definitely we should be taught as women to not lose ourselves in that.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think we overgive in that,
Yes.
and we
Yes.
teach our daughters to be overgivers.
Yes.
I know that that is how I became a people pleaser, because I learned it from my mom. It was like, you are a woman who has got a child, forget
Self-sacrifice.
forget who,
Yeah.
yeah,
Forget you. Yeah.
you are sacrificed for this. And it's
Yeah.
like, absolutely not. Do I
Yeah.
want my gorgeous daughters to be sacrificed for their children? No, I want them to
No.
live in total fullness and show their children the fullness that they too can live. Because
Yeah.
we pass that down, don't we? We learn
Yes.
it, and it's like, time to stop.
Oh
Time to
my gosh.
stop.
Oh my God. I just done another silent commitment to myself. Commit to not doing that, because you're losing yourself, and
Yeah.
that's no use to anyone.
No, it doesn't, and it doesn't teach our children. It gives a really unhelpful message to our children,
Yes.
and who we are, energetically who we are being. Words are powerful, but it's not the words themselves that are powerful. It is the energy behind those words. So even if we're saying to our daughters, be confident, well, we are not being confident. We are
Right.
they're not getting, what we might as well say is, oh, you can't be confident, you're a woman who kind of, has to say whatever. We're not.
Right.
Our energy transmits the message. And so,
Yeah.
do not lose yourself, because it's truly important to teach our children not to lose themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do really think that that is a commitment. It's almost like a
Yeah,
daily commitment to
it
mothers,
is.
because
It is.
it's so knee-jerk. I suppose because when they're young, they are so dependent. So you do
Yeah.
get into that. But then it's like, then we just carry it on and on and on.
And
Yeah.
this comes back again to the magic of the universe that we live in. If
Mm.
we speak into being and believe, I can't count how many times, when I speak to young mums and things, it's just like, this is hard. Oh my gosh, I can't, I don't get any sleep. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do the other. And again, the energy that we are speaking, that is creation. It's like, let's create something different. When you read the Bible, and it talks about childbirth, and it talks about when the Jews were in captivity and having their babies, in the Bible, it says that the women, there was something going on with Herod. There was, anyway, a whole story, but it says that these Jewish women were lively in childbirth. So basically they were saying childbirth is easy. They were doing it easily. They weren't lying around in bed. It wasn't a difficult thing. And this whole, we have created that things are difficult. And then we don't see that that is our creation. And definitely, to me, it's like part of our job is to change how we speak about these things.
Right.
Motherhood is beautiful, and it does. I'm not saying that you're never going to be tired. I'm not going to say that there's never going to be a struggle day, but it is like, we don't have to talk about this in blanket language that that's how it is, because we create that when we do.
Right.
We are an integral part of the creation of it. We are never simply describing, we are always creating.
And we think we're helping each other when we're saying, "Oh yeah, isn't
Yeah,
it awful? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah." And we all sit
yeah,
together and
yeah,
confirm the story
yeah.
that we just that isn't serving us.
Mm.
There's the phrase abracadabra.
Yes, I love it.
I love it. It's Aramaic for, is it abracadabra? As I speak, I create. Like, literally, God said there was light, and there was light, and we are doing that.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Commit.
Yeah.
I could carry on this
Oh,
conversation.
it's not finished, is it?
We've been going.
I think it started.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe we'll do it again.
Oh,
But yeah,
gorgeous.
we should. It was a beautiful conversation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You.
So if anyone wants to get in touch with you, I will make sure anything is under this video. But just quickly, where's the best place for people if they want to reach out, and get to know you more?
Right. Oh, Deborah Binun on Facebook, Binun, or birthfree.com. That's my website.
Cool. Okay then. So
So,
thank
yes.
you.
Thank you. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was amazing. Is there any last thing that you want to end on before we stop this recording?
Oh
Anything?
my gosh. Make a commitment to your inner peace.
I
I
love
think that commitment piece is just, well, that is for sure fresh for me. It really is. That commitment to your inner peace. What are you willing to lose your peace for? Like nothing. It's the best thing there is. And that definitely that piece of losing ourselves and just being more. It's like my son was just saying to me on the way, whatever he said, I was serious on something, I was like, well, I'm not going to do that's whatever. That's not where the freshness is. And he said, you know what? You do you. And I thought, yes, you do you. I love that. You do you.
Absolutely.
You do you. You do you.
Absolutely.
And we're like, we'll just have such a beautiful world. Like, you know, that's my party
Make
message.
a commitment to be yourself.
Yes. dare to be you.
Dare to be you. That's the one, isn't it? That is absolutely it.
Thank you. It's gorgeous.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank you.